You were born with something extraordinary, a unique genius. It's that unmistakable place where your strengths and your passion collide, where impact meets fulfillment. This isn't just a podcast. It's a movement for entrepreneurs who refuse to settle, who believe life is meant to be rich in purpose, alive with meaning, and overflowing with possibility. Here, we pull back the curtain on bold journeys, stories of courage, clarity, unapologetic authenticity. These are the visionaries who are building wealth, creating freedom, and changing the world by fully owning the gifts they were born to share. Because the meaning of life is to find your gifts and the purpose to use them fully. Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chanowsky. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chanowsky, and I'm so excited to have Ashton with me here this week. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yes, so I have met Ashton recently in the last year in a mastermind that we're in, and just love your energy, Ashton, and all that you are bringing and serving people with. So I'm excited to share with the audience. And before we dive into questions, why don't you share with our audience just a little bit about you?
Yeah, man, when you said before the show, you're like, I'm gonna let you introduce you. I'm like, what should I say? I could say that I sang the national anthem at a pro sporting event.
You did?
Yeah, I could say that. I could say, the two truths and a lie. You could say some interesting things that,
Yes.
I got to make sure they're all real. But I'll say, my name Ashton Buswell. I am a family man. I'm a lover of God. I love my wife and families and my God. Those are my most favorite things. I'm a businessman. I have started a sales training platform and a sales training community called Foundational Selling System, which is going to be awesome and is already awesome. I'm a solar sales guy also in my business. Been in solar sales for 11 and a half years now, and have done sales since 2005. I legit used to run door to door when I first started. Like, I would cut through people's lawns and get to the next house before somebody could yell at me and say, "Don't run through my grass." And I'm an athlete. I just competed in the World Championships for Masters Wrestling in Croatia in October. I made it to the bronze medal match. I ripped my ab. I actually felt my ab rip. That's not a very friendly feeling to feel.
No.
And so needless to say, I didn't win, didn't get the medal. But yeah, those are some things about me.
Well, I love it. Some people just take this like typical approach of these are the things, this is my business, what I currently do. And I love that you threw in some fun facts for us. And those are things that I didn't know. So we'll probably dive more into the
one that I forgot to share. I have played croquet on 49 out of 50 state capitals in the United States of America.
What?
Well, not on the state capital, but on the lawn. On the lawn, and the nation's capital as well. Can you guess which one I haven't gone to yet?
Which one? Alaska?
Alaska. That's the last.
So where did this interesting thing come from?
Yeah, kind of fun. I wrestled in high school and college, and in college recruiting trips, they try to take you to cool places. I went to Seton Hall, which is in New Jersey, right across from New York City, and they took me to the Soup Nazi from Jerry Seinfeld from the Seinfeld show. That was super cool, and I went to Northwestern in Chicago, and they took me to some cool places in Chicago. And then I went to Boise State, and there's nothing really cool in Boise. So they took us, we got some Slurpees, and we played croquet on the state capitol lawn with some cute girls. They were trying to get me to like a girl and want to go up to their school.
Okay.
And when I was engaged to my now wife, we were registering for gifts, and we walked by this croquet set, and I was like, oh, we should register for this because this happened. I shared the story I just shared with you, and it's like such a fun and easy game, and we should play it. And my wife's like, well, we should do that on all the state capitals. And I was like, that's a great idea. And so the idea was born. And my job, I used to do summer sales across the country, and we would go on our way home or on our way there on different ways. And we actually got through 48 capitals in about 4 years. we went and saw the whole nation, and we would make it a point to go to the capitals. And most capitals, or you maybe didn't know this, I didn't know this until I started doing it, is on main freeways. So you can take the 10 freeway and you get hit a number of capitals. You can take the 8 freeway, you can take the 70, and there's a whole bunch of capitals that are just right off those main freeways. Michigan's on the way to nowhere, so we couldn't go on our way. But on our way to North Carolina, we went up to South Dakota and Minnesota, and on our way home from California to Utah, we went up to Oregon and Washington and Montana. And anyway, just a fun little tradition that me and my wife did.
Oh, that's a super fun tradition and a fun fact for everyone to know about, how state capitals are designed and how easy it is to maybe hit state capitals if you were driving through.
Cross country, yeah, yeah.
Gosh, okay. Well, you have so many fun things and interesting things about you. Um, let's start with sales. And obviously, that's been like in your blood forever, but at different stages. So tell me, I am a sales in my blood person, Girl Scout cookies to Cutco knives.
Nice.
Um, but tell me about how you started your passion for sales and some of those early things that you knew that like sales was your unique genius.
Well, I early on in my life, I got a blessing from a priest that stuck out to me from a long time ago, and it was that find something to do and that you'll become a professional at. And it just always stuck with me. And in my mind, I'm like, is that like a dentist or something? Like I'll be that, and I can get education for that, and that'll provide for me. And I kind of stumbled into sales, professional sales in college. I was working hard, and one of my friends was my old state of Utah wrestling coach said, "Hey, you should go sell satellites with my son." And I was like, I don't know anything about sales. He's like, no, they'll teach you how to sell. You just have to work hard. And I know you know how to work hard from wrestling. And I was like, yeah, that's true. I know how to work hard. And so I did this summer selling satellites door to door for a few years. And then I got good at it. They told me I could make $20,000, and I thought, great, I could just focus on grades and girls and not have a job during, the school year. And I ended up making $40,000 in a summer, and that blew my mind. And then I just kept going in sales, and then I don't know, I don't remember an exact point, but I remember having, I guess I should have written it down, but I remember having a time in my life where I thought, oh my gosh, I am fulfilling that blessing that I was given, which was to become a professional at something, and it was in selling. That a professional salesperson is actually crazy needed. Everything that we look at, everything that your eyes are looking at right now, me and you, was sold. The grass that I'm looking at is from God, but somebody had to pay for that land, right? Somebody sold that grass and that landscaping, and that fence and that window thing and the computer that I'm looking at and this pen, and right, the
Yes.
sales is so important. And for a while it was just a thing I was doing to kind of help me get through college. And then after college was done, I was a regional manager, so why not keep doing this thing that was paying me well and doing good for me? But then I was like, no, this is a life changer for me and for so many people, to be able to communicate an idea. And I love the birth of my selling. My professional selling was door-to-door sales, and I still do a fair amount of door-to-door selling. And I love that was the genesis of it, because you got to be quick, man. You got 3 seconds to have a connection with somebody, and you get 40 opportunities to get better every day. Some people will look at their interactions and 40 no's like, my life sucks. This is like horrible. They're telling me no all the time. Why are they being so rude to me? Or the way I chose to look at it is that I have 40 opportunities to get better. What did I do when I missed that? I missed that. Why did I miss that? How did I miss that? Okay, this next one I'm going to do a little better when I interact with this kind of person in this kind of situation. I'm going to say this better, and right, just always trying to comb and get better. So then I just became really passionate. As time went on, I just became super passionate about selling, and that everything is a sell, and everything is really, sales is really just human connection. You and I bonded right away, and our mastermind. I'm like, this person's a good person that does good in the world, and that's connecting, right? That's connecting, which would turn into sales somewhere along the line. If you need to sell me something, I need to sell you something. We've connected, right? And that's really all that sales is. So anyway, that was a long rant, but
No, I love it. And you learned that you were good at it right away, off of that opportunity. And when you are good at it and understand that like you have a genius for it, earning $40,000 that summer, learn right away that you can never go back to trading time for money.
Mm,
And my first experience I mean, Cutco wasn't door to door. I started out in warm relationships before they were cold relationships,
right.
but not like not like knocking on someone's door. But at 16, I remember that was just the biggest change of like looking at other people. Like I will never trade time for money again. Like why would you do that when you have so many opportunities? Like you said, I was like, it wasn't about the vehicle of the knives, but knowing there was always something in the world that you could use that human connection skill to do that wasn't my friends out there earning $10 an hour.
Right.
And like, why isn't everyone doing it? Why isn't everyone doing this? Why would anyone ever do that again?
Yeah.
Talk about career, how it shifted, and your decision to turn it into helping other people with sales in your community that you're building.
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. So, um, the uh, the community. So I felt like I had more to give. The As I've gone through my career. So my career, I started out just a regular rep, and then I became a manager, and then a regional manager, and then that company was going out of business. It was in 2008, and the owners had a whole ton of money in real estate that was falling apart, and the company fell apart. And I stopped selling satellites, and I started selling alarms, and I sold alarms door to door. And I did that for 3 years, and then I was just done with it. And I moved to San Diego to start some businesses with my brother. I started a carpet recycling business and a cement powder business, some off the wall businesses. No one as a kid wants to grow up to be a carpet recycler or sell cement powder, you know. But I did some businesses, and I paid my tuition to the School of Hard Knocks. I didn't make any money for a year in expensive San Diego, and I poured a ton of money into this carpet recycling business, and it didn't work out. And I learned a ton from it. And then I got into some LED lighting sales and some business networking sales, and then I got roped into solar 11 and a half years ago. And as I was going in solar, what I consider myself, you've heard me reference wrestling a couple times. I'm an
Mhm.
athlete here, and I'm just a regular dude. I don't have the gift of the gab. Some people have the gift of the gab where they can taste something and they can just be super slick, and they'll just say something back to you that's just like, wow. And I actually don't consider myself that. I've just beaten on my craft enough and worked hard enough at it that I've become a 0.1% sales professional, right? I know less than 10 people that have got 1,000 personal solar installs in the world, and I'm one of them. And I've done numbers of alarms and satellites and these things, but it wasn't because I was born with some silver spoon to have some slick talker. Now I did early on convince some of my friends that I should trade my carrots that were healthier for you for their gushers when I was a kid. I do remember that. And I don't know if that was because they finally gave them to me because they were bothered by me asking so many times for them every day and they just felt bad for me, or if I was really good at selling them. The carrots were better for them than the
You
gushers.
were good at selling.
And then I should have the gushers, and I'll take one for the team. Just give me those gushers. But where it grew into a passion for me was helping other people to have the little taste of sales and the wins in sales. And if you
Mm.
can make it in sales, if you're doing okay in sales and you're surviving, don't leave. If you're in sales and you're like totally tanking and you're going upside down and stuff, then maybe get out and go find something else to do. But if you're in it and you're surviving, you'll only get better if you put in the work. And that's where I was like, dude, I can totally help more people to do this. That come from a mindset or a frame that's like me, that isn't perfect with the gift of the gab, that isn't perfect with the silver. I can say the smoothest thing. And there are people that can sell ice to an Eskimo, and I don't ever want to be one of those guys because they don't need it, right? But I thought, dude, there's a lot of people like me that know how to work really hard, that have good personalities, that can smile at people. I got to help them understand how great their life can be with sales, and that's where the foundational selling system was born. Was I felt like I had more to give, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there like me that I could really help and help get to their next level. And I've been through all the levels, right? So a brand new rep, I know what it's like to be a brand new rep. I know what it's like to be a manager, and I know what it's like to be a top performer, and I know what it's like to be a VP of a company. And anywhere along the way, I feel like I've got experience. I don't know, have all the perfect experience. I'm not the best perfect guy, and some people will jive with my training and others won't, and either is fine, right? But I just felt like I had more to give, and wanted to share more. So
I love that. And you can tell that from your heart and spirit that it's like from a place of wanting to serve and wanting to help, that you mastered the craft. And I love also that you've identified like the part of your genius that sales is, that it wasn't this natural, like, sell ice to Escalent. There are those people out there. And I'd say my sales is I have a little bit of both. I do have a little bit of like, I don't know, give me that, give me whatever it is, and I will walk up and sell this person. But you've had this drive, like you said, you were willing to work hard, and whatever it was, like you're willing to work hard and refine it. As you said, that it's 40 opportunities to get better at this. You were just determined you would keep getting better and, use that drive that you had as an athlete to get better and refine your sales skills and be the best, no matter how many no's that took.
yeah, the sports thing. You wouldn't know this about me either, but I was a runner up in the high school Heisman on 5'7 3/4. That wasn't all on football; it was just sports and stuff. But I all of the sporting things, like the football grind, my team won state, and wrestling and soccer and baseball. Sales is the closest thing I think to professional athletics if you're not in a pro sport, right? Like you've got competitors, you've got competitions. You're trying to get better every day. Not that I couldn't be. If my grandpa was a dentist, so I refer back to my grandpa with his dentist stuff. Like, not that I couldn't be better at putting in this root canal, because maybe I could get a little bit better at putting this root canal in. But once I've kind of mastered that, the progress of that thing is kind of stopped. With cells, I feel like it's ever increasing, right? I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to be coached, like hear from people. And I love that your business, you and I are both salespeople in completely different businesses. You look at a prospect a certain way. We both have the same objection. But if I can learn something from you at a different angle, oh man, I'm benefited so much, right? From learning from somebody else, and that competitiveness of the sport of like, I got to get better. I want to get better. I want to be hitting home runs. I'm hitting singles and doubles, and I got to continue to do that. And not that it's me versus you, but it's me versus me. And how can I get better, and tracking it, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's where I've put my sports energy into. This is now my new sport, and I call it selling. And whatever product it is at the time, that's what I'm selling. So how am I getting better, and what am I doing to get better, and how am I, I'm asking coaches for help. What coaches can help me, not help me, all those things. So it's just a fun sport, and they call it sales.
It is.
Yeah.
And I've never thought of it. I mean, I've thought of it in the analogy of sports, but what a unique thing it is to be in sales, that it is something that you are always striving for better. Like there's always a scoreboard that's going on, because a lot of times high achievers start businesses and get themselves as, an entrepreneur, and then they don't have that scoreboard anymore. They're not competing against, there's not even a way to necessarily have a measurement against yourself.
Right.
Like, where is the scoreboard? What is the metrics? And then a lot of people get frustrated and stuck because they're used to that competition
Right.
of being an athlete or being in something where even if you're not competing against the other team, right? And it's not like a competition with the other business in town. That's not what we're saying, but like, how is there a scoreboard that you can constantly be pushing yourself and get better? And putting yourself in a sales scenario, no matter what, even though as owner of a business or whatever, you're still in a scenario where it is a competition and you're helping others compete too. You're either in the competition or you're in the competition and you're coaching others be
Yep. Yeah.
in the competition. Such a great atmosphere because it doesn't allow for like so many other things out there, you to become stagnant and get bored and not be in growth anymore and be in a place where you're like, I'm sick, successful.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's something about what one of my coaches when I first hired a coach, I recommend people get coaches. I think it's a great idea. When I first hired a coach, he told me kind of what he was doing, like life coach, business coach guy, and I repeated
Hmm.
back to him and I said, I like sandpaper. And he's like, what? I was like, you're gonna basically help me shave off all these edges that are you're gonna try to
Yeah.
smooth me out all of the time. And that's what coaching does for you, and that's also kind of what sales does for you. Yesterday I had a prospect that it was an absolute slam dunk. I went above and beyond. I absolutely was hooking this guy up and he told me no. And I'm like, how did I walked out of my office? I was like, how the heck did I not sell that guy? And I talked to my wife about it. I was just like flabbergasted. Like I'm thinking to write him a letter and be like, I'm so sorry I failed you so bad. That was on me in a way that isn't like trying to like strong arm him into like buying from me, but just like sincerely, I'm sorry I failed you somehow. I don't know how I did. But then you think about it, and Babe Ruth had more strikeouts than almost anyone, but he had more home runs than anyone, right? And to be a Hall of Famer baseball player, you only have to get on base 3 out of 7 times. What? Or 3 out of 10 times, I mean. What? That's not actually very good, but that's the same as sales. Like I'm actually going to strike out and get a lot more no's than I'm going to get yeses. And I got to be okay with that and be comfortable with that. And once I get there, once I can get to a point where I just absolutely did amazing for this guy and he still told me no, some people would pull up shop and be like, all right, this isn't for me. Like that was like an absolute no brainer. I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, how did I miss? What did I do? What could I do better? Is there a way for me to still reel him in? We had a good relationship, right? I'm still trying. And that's just part of the fun part of the game of sales to me is that, okay, I got to get better. How did I do this? And I think the best
Yeah.
salespeople in the world are the ones that after they have a strike or a miss or an out, that they right away stop and think, what could I have done better? And it isn't necessarily what could I have got done to get the sale, but what could I have done better that would have got them closer to the sale, right?
Yeah,
If somebody's like
absolutely.
a hard no right away, what could I have done better to get them to be a soft no? Or if somebody presenting them for a little while and then they tell me no, how could I get a little, a minute or two more into my presentation or whatever? I think the best guys are doing that. Would you agree with that? Like the best people
Oh,
are doing
absolutely.
that?
Um, I am all the time. And always, even when sometimes I'm like talking to myself and like, okay, that wasn't a fit. They weren't the right per that I wasn't even supposed to sell. But what did I learn from that? How can I refine still my conversation in that? Exactly. I'm always thinking in every conversation like, okay, how could have I have shown up better? How could I have done better for you, regardless if it was a close? Like, how could I have served that person better in that conversation and gotten them to a better outcome? Whatever that was.
Right.
Like, if it was a no and they're not meant to be a client, like, did I leave them in a great place? Did I set them up for success with a different solution? Or was it just like, all right, fine, Because that's not good either. So, no, I have the exact same. I'm always just like, how could I have shown up better? How could I have ended that better? How's the outcome of that person, like, going to the next level better?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I love that.
That's where improvement happens, right? Reflection. I heard this once. I can't remember who said it, so you can say I said it. But that we don't learn from experience. And when I first heard that, I was like, wait, what? But then they finished it with, we learn from reflection on experiences. If
Mm,
I burnt my hand on the stove and didn't
yep.
think, oh, that hurt, I would do it again maybe, right?
Yes.
But we learn from the reflection on the experiences that we had. So that then begs a question: how often are we stop pausing to reflect? And that goes back to that thing that we just said. The best people are after every interaction. What was good? What wasn't good? How can I get better? That's when the learning takes place. And I think sometimes in life, just in general, if I'm trying to be a good dad or if I'm trying to be a good friend, we just kind of go with the flow in things instead of
Hmm.
pausing and being intentional. Pausing, reflecting, learning. How could I have been better? What could I do differently? And sometimes there isn't anything. Sometimes it's like I did the best I could. That was like the best I could, and it still was a no, or it still didn't work out. And I've also got to be okay with that, But that pausing and reflecting bit, that's where I think a major part of growth happens.
Oh, that's a really good reflection to come away. A really good nugget is that reflection, because that's when we say like people don't learn. That's exactly right. It's not just reflection in, you were using it in this context of like, do we do it from every sale? But just like you said, do we do it from every interaction we have with our kids, how things went the day before? And that's the difference, like you said, in growth, and that people we see that don't learn, that's frustrating.
Yeah,
Like, it's okay to make a mistake, but it's frustrating people that make the same mistake over and over because they're not learning from experience, because they don't take a moment to reflect and think, what am I supposed to learn here from this?
yep, yep.
And so they just keep living the same pattern, and the same things keep happening to them over and over. Um, that's where we see people stuck and going downhill. And it's so important, in not just in sales, but in every aspect. That's how we grow in our relationships. Like if something happens and we upset someone, that was really powerful. So thank you,
Yeah.
Ashton. Like, if our kids get upset over a scenario, how did we pause and reflect and think, how could we handle that better the next time? Or how can we now set them up for success, or make sure that we're okay, instead of just going on from experience to experience?
Yeah, nailed it, nailed it. And with our kids,
Powerful.
can I go on the kids one tangent because you brought it up?
Yes.
So with kids, one of the things that has been so effective for me as a dad, or I feel like it's been effective, is to acknowledge to my kids that I'm still learning this too.
Mm.
I'm about to take my 12-year-old on a 12-year-old trip. When my kids turn 12, I got four daughters. I've only done it with one so far. My wife takes the kids on an international trip after their kindergarten year, and some people are like, "That's crazy. They're not going to remember it." But learning and seeing different cultures as a young kid really helps shape who they become. We believe that with our hearts. And as a 12-year-old, Dad takes them on a road trip, and we rent an RV. We don't ever take an RV. It's a unique thing. But on my first trip with my oldest daughter, I just said, "Hey, you're old enough now for me to tell you something like this. I'm still learning them too. I've actually never had an oldest daughter before. And so sometimes I screw up, and I apologize for that. And with this second daughter, I'm going to say the same thing. Hey, I've actually never had a second daughter that's been 12 and going into middle school. And I mess up sometimes. And with my oldest daughter, now that I've had that conversation with her, sometimes she just graduated, or not graduated, but she just finished her freshman year of high school. And this year, I've stopped a couple times when we've talked about things, and we don't really get in big arguments or anything like that. But when there was a misunderstanding, I'll say, "Hallie, I'm sorry. This is my first time having a freshman in high school, and I'm sorry. I'm learning too." And recognizing my humanness helps her
Mhm.
to feel like, "Oh yeah, Dad's not perfect. He makes mistakes too." And then she takes in a little bit of the humanness too, of that reflection back. So when I'm thinking like, what can I do better as a dad? Some of it is like communicating to my kids that, hey, I'm not perfect and I'm trying, and
Mhm.
that's been really received really well with my oldest. With my second one, I've even before I've been on this trip, to have that deeper conversation, and I've said that a couple times. Hey, listen, I've never had an all-star track runner before. You're the first, so I don't know how to do it perfectly, but I'm trying, and I
Yeah.
just want you to know I'm trying. And I think when they connect on that, sorry, I'm getting emotional with my kids. When they connect on that, I think that it makes my life easier, and so it's important to acknowledge that with our kids. That's, I guess, the short version of why I go
Yeah.
on that tangent.
That's really powerful. I'm glad you chimed in and shared that. And that is, I think that can be powerful to share to our kids. I think it can also be powerful to be vulnerable like that as business owners and as coaches. I'm on my second round of kids. So my first 25 and almost 23. And then when I married JC, I have two more awesome kids, 13 and 15. So I wasn't as great at that with the first time
Yeah,
of saying that. Now I have a really great, not that I didn't have a great relationship, but I have a really great close relationship with my adult kids, in being more vulnerable of like, I was growing up too, and then realizing that like I was doing the best that I could with what I had, but at that time, and I also led that way, of like I have to seem like I know it all. I have to seem like I'm the one in charge and have the authority, or people won't follow me or people won't trust me. And I acted like that as a parent, but I know I also acted a lot like that as a leader. Versus what you're talking about, being like, I'm doing the best I can with what I have. I have a lot of experience here. And I want you to know like the things I do, I'm doing for you because I genuinely love and care about you. And that goes for my team too.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely want the best for you, and the decisions I'm making and the things that we put into place are because I want the best for you.
Yeah.
But I'm learning too.
Yeah, yeah. There's a book recommendation for your following here that was really great for me early on in my career, and it's called The Speed of Trust by Stephen M. R. Covey. Have you read that one? Are you familiar with that book?
No, but I am listening for like the fifth time to 10x is easier than 2x, and he talks about it in there.
Oh, does
So
he? Yeah.
it's going to be my next
Yeah,
homework.
and one of the principles that he talks about in there, so this is like for business, for kids, for any of that stuff,
Mhm.
is that there's really two main components of trust, and then those two components are broken down into two more components, but there's character and competence. Like
Mhm.
if you're an amazing person, but you're not a professional at heart surgery, I'm not going to go to you for heart surgery. But my heart surgeon friend that's competent in heart surgery, I'm going to go to him for heart surgery, and he's a great person, but I'm not going to go to him for financial planning, right? But part of the character part is to declare your intent, and that little part has been really powerful for me in business, in when I'm selling somebody, when I'm managing somebody, when I'm coaching somebody. Hey, my intent is to declare it. And you've got to follow it up by actions too. But sometimes people think like, what's his angle here? What's he trying to get? What's he trying to get? What's he trying to do? You know what I mean? And sometimes just declaring your intent. Hey, so and so, I want to have a meeting with you on Monday. And if you just leave it at that, then they're like, their mind goes to like, well, what is this about? Are they letting me go? Am I in trouble? And if you declared your intent from the start, that puts them at ease, and then you can show forth more love. I feel like, because like,
Yeah.
hey Pam, we needed to meet on Monday. There was a couple things that happened. You're not in trouble, but I do want to talk about X, Y, and Z just to make sure that we're good and you're good and things are moving in the right direction. Right? Declaring that intent with our kids. Hey, I'm doing the best I can, or an employee or anybody you're coaching, like, hey, this is my intent is good. You may not know this about me, brand new prospect, but I sincerely care for your welfare. And you probably just are like, well, the sales guy is supposed to say that, but I hope you also see that and feel that from me as I show that to you. But my intent is to do X, Y, and Z for you because blah, 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 right? So declaring your intent to your kids, declaring your intent to your employees, to anybody that you work with is a really powerful way to help them feel better about where they're at too,
Yeah.
in the relationship. So
I'm going to read that book, and I'm going to start using intent. I was using it very well in my family and with my team, but not when I talk to prospects.
mm,
So like when you just said, like am I making sure that they know that up front, that this conversation isn't to sell you a strategic partner, that like the intent is you understand solutions to live your life fully in your unique genius. This might be one of them, it might not be, but my intent is
for you.
to help
Yeah,
you discover that,
yeah, yeah,
not to sell you something. So,
brilliant.
so let's talk a little bit more. I knew time would be flying with you, so I'm like, okay, I got to get to these. Um, Talk a little bit more about your community that you're building, like where it's at now, where it's what you're loving about serving and helping people be more powerful in sales.
Fascinating. So the foundational selling system, I was toying around with the name for a long time, and then I thought, man, it's really about the foundations of sales. So there's a course component of it that is probably a $10,000 course that I'm just kind of including in the community. So the course component of it that teaches like some really foundational mindsets, some really foundational things to do, not do, say, not say, ways to approach if you're a prospecting call, ways to approach if you're going into like close an appointment. And some sales, those are at the same time. Some it's 2 or 3 touches and whatever else, but just really getting down into some of the foundational parts of it. And it's brand new. And I think as I've thought about it, I've thought there's lots of courses, and one of the kind of people that I really hope to help is the brand new rep. I feel like I said earlier, I can help anybody along the way, but the brand new rep that's looking at Cardone or some of these other sales trainers, but it costs $5,000 or $1,000 or $15,000 to do their course. They don't have that yet, but they could pay $47 my course and community. It's $47 a month. That's really affordable, and get a really solid foundation so that then they could go pay for that course if they wanted to, right? To like build up to. So anyway, I think some of the unique genius of it, as I've really thought about where's the best part of this gonna go. It's not there right now, but my hope is where it's gonna go. Not my hope. We're gonna have 10,000 people in the community by the end of next year. Is that everybody's helping each other, and I mentioned that earlier. Of because a lot of sales teams are like 10 people or less, and you can go and you can ask your boss, you can ask the manager, you can ask some top performing people, like, how would I say this and what would I do here? And they're going to give you their perspective, but you're only getting this perspective of like 10 people. So where else can you go to get good information? Well, you can go to YouTube and you can learn some things from there. You can go to some free Facebook groups and ask some questions, but if it's a competitor, they're not like as excited to help. Or you can go to the foundational selling system where there's this community of everyone is abundant. Like, I'm bringing my A game. I don't hold anything back. I give you my best stuff all of the time. And in the community, right at the top, I tell everybody, bring your best. Ask good questions, give good answers. And so the genius of it, my hope is, not my hope, it's going to happen, is that people come in and then they start to help each other. And somebody from pharmaceutical sales can help somebody that's selling insurance, and somebody that's selling insurance can help somebody that's selling cars, and somebody that's doing automations in some way, or somebody that's selling virtual assistants, right? They see things a different way. They have different life experience, they have different training, they have different growing up experience, plus then like field experience, that they can say, hey, when somebody says I want to think about it, that they type that in there, and then they get a list of like 25, 30, 40, 100 responses, and everybody's like, oh, that's good. Ooh, me too. Oh, that's good, right? And everybody's just learning from each other. That's where I think the genius of it is. And sometimes it takes a couple bucks to have you like really be serious about it. You can go for a run for free, but oftentimes people get a little bit of better shape when they pay for a gym membership, because they're like, man, I'm paying $25, $50, $100 a month for this membership. I should use it, right? And so some of it's that. I mean, that's not a lot of money. $47 is not a lot of money. I'm not gonna, if you sign up for my course, your $47 isn't gonna make it so I can retire, right? But it's enough that you're like, okay, I should use this, and I should engage, and I should learn, and then we have a call once a week where we're talking about things from the course, and then we'll do a Q&A, and people will bring in different things from all of their different their sales and questions and things that they have that you can get live interactions with. And I won't be the only one in there that's giving counsel, because I don't know all the answers, and I'm totally happy that other people know more answers about more things than I do, and we'll just bring that all together to one spot. Bam, get a ton of value out of the course in the community. So yeah.
I love it. You're right. People, I mean, you have to have an investment in something that's just like free events or whatever. And like, you're not as bought in unless you have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And it just changes the psychological commitment. And what a great thing that you're building. I so believe in the power of community for so many reasons. Like that, there are things that you can learn from a podcast and a book, but the real difference, especially in this age of AI, where you think you can like just get a coach, be coached by AI, the biggest difference is the power of human connection.
Amen.
And the community that builds. You have that strong community, collaboration, which you're building, happens from that. you have a network of people that you're not only learning from and will be there to rise and take you to the next level, to increase your mindset, lift your lid, but also a network of people that when you're down, when you have a rough sales day and you're discouraged, that community is so important to have people to fall back on.
Yeah, and you may not want to
So
let the people in your own company know you're struggling. You might, right? We talked about earlier, vulnerability would be a good thing, but some
yeah,
people don't. Some people are like, dude, I don't want to tell my coworker that I suck or my boss that I suck. Like, where's an outlet that I can go where I can vent a little bit and get help that they're going to give me sincere help? Like, this is an answer for that.
that's awesome. And we realize, it's a lot of times people, I'd say at the top of their game or later, like we realize, like we're in a mastermind. We put ourselves in communities so that we have relationships and have the opportunity to make new connections so that we have people lifting our lid, elevating us, and that are there for us at a different level. And it's so awesome because a lot of times people in the beginning, in those seats, don't yet realize that of everything, having a community is one of the most important things you can do for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree.
So, well, it's been so awesome to have you on. A couple last things. Why don't you tell our audience where they can find you and more information about your community?
Yeah, they could go to foundationalsellingsystem.com and see a little video about it and read about it. You can also follow me on Instagram at Ashton Buswell, ASHTONBUSWELL. I'll put a lot of things on there. There's a lot of good stuff on there that's just free content. Like again, I think there's a lot of free good content everywhere, and I pour a ton of it on there too. But those would be the best places to find me and learn more about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ashton, for sharing all those nuggets. I know I took so many things away that are shifting my perspective, so I know the audience did as well.
Thanks for having me. Loved it.
It's been another episode of Unique Genius Podcast. We'll see you next week.